Hello everyone and welcome to another News Coolum video. And I could call this a plug side chat, but really this is a response video to GM's layoffs, and actually more of a response to the response to GM's announced layoffs. Some people asked me to speak about this and sort of give my opinion. And in a recent press release, GM had discussed how they were shutting down certain plants. They were laying off certain workers, offering buyouts. All told, it appears that about 15,000 people will lose their jobs and several factories will be shut down. And look, there's no way of candy coating that, right? That you don't want people to lose their jobs. You don't want manufacturing to be shut down. To me, though, it comes down to a simple question for those who are being, in my opinion, hypercritical of GM. Do you or don't you want them to make electric vehicles? Because that's what this is actually about. President Trump is not a very astute person, but even he recognizes that this transformation, as GM is calling it, is the result of moving toward a production line that can support electric vehicles. And so his criticism, right, of CEO Mary Barra was that she's basically directing the company, in his opinion, in a wrong direction by investing in electric vehicles. Now, there's a lot of politicizing of this that's going on, and given the current political climate in the United States, a bunch of different politicians are going to try to leverage this to their advantage. And there are some underlying systemic issues that are forcing sort of GM's hand in this regard. And I don't, want this to be misrepresented. In my opinion, the $10 billion in stock buybacks that GM's done since 2015, I would prefer that they hadn't done that. But it is legal, and it's the result of giving corporations massive tax cuts. That's what happens when you do that. And unfortunately, previously stock buybacks were never legal until 1982, when former President Reagan actually legalized them. It's almost a form of fraud when you think about it, but it is what it is. It's legal in the current environment. So if you're asking a company that's basically amoral and trying to stay in business to not do something that you've made legal and you've encouraged, well, that seems a little disingenuous as well. But like I said, this entire issue is about transitioning to non-internal combustion engine vehicles. So while that $10 billion in stock buybacks since 2015 is worrisome, I would be more worried about it if GM hadn't also invested over $6 billion in creating new jobs, in investing in new sectors. We can't forget that a lot of the money that they've spent in the last few years has been acquiring startup companies like Strobe and Cruise Automation that are employing a lot of workers, and these are good jobs. So even though losing 15,000 jobs hurts and there's no way around it, it's easy to lose track of how many more jobs have been created in the meantime. So GM is opening a manufacturing plant in Hazel Park for components for electric vehicles, basically the Bolt EV, but shared platforms. They're expanding the battery facility in Holland, Michigan. Again, these are all creating jobs, but they're about transitioning away from cars that people aren't necessarily buying. Now, if you want to look at reasons for why people aren't buying cheap entry level sedans and other vehicles, those go well beyond GM, and they go well beyond making cars that people want to buy, right? So if you look at our current economy, People under the age of 30, well, they're not really participating at this point. If you're mired in student loan debt, if you have 400, 500, $600 a month payments for a degree that might or might not have given you gainful employment, how are you supposed to be buying an entry level sedan? And these are the cars that are, suffering the most in this current economy. If you tie access to medical care to employment, but entry level jobs don't really provide medical insurance, well, those Americans are already paying as much in taxes as their counterparts in countries with socialized medicine. Yet on top of it, they have to pay thousands of dollars a year just to access medical care. How are they supposed to participate in the economy? How are they supposed to be buying these entry level sedans? They aren't going to be. So while you have someone like the president concerned about his image, essentially, it doesn't change the fact that the economy maybe isn't as healthy as people are implying it is. Because remember, if the unemployment rates are as low as they are, well, what does it matter if 15,000 new workers enter the job market? They need employment. Well, apparently the unemployment levels are so low, there should be a job on every corner. Isn't it true? So why would this be an issue then? So to me, I'm seeing this more as an assault on GM's transition to being able to provide and build electrified vehicles, because this is essentially what they're doing. This transition is allowing them to, across the entire production line, do what they did with the Bolt EV and the Sonic at a Orin plant, where you can literally build a Sonic and then follow it up immediately with the Bolt EV on the same assembly line. So if they're able to do that, they're able to make fast, agile transitions based on what customers want. And if they have the manufacturing capacity for hundreds of thousands of EVs in a year, well, guess what? That's also going to require that we have factories to produce those batteries, and those factories are going to need workers. So this is good long term. Now, maybe, like I said, for optics, it looks bad, and it certainly sucks for people who lose their jobs. But remember, Mary Barra came from a working class background. This, I don't think, was a very easy choice for her. I don't think she would do this if she didn't have to. To me, this is a necessary shift. And, I can't confirm this, but a quote of Mary Barra's that was in the press release about this shift and transformation at GM seemed like she was referencing some of the things that I said in my video when I made sort of harsh words for GM, because she was addressing those concerns. Investors do worry about how agile a company is, how well it can respond to shifts in demand, and this entire transformation is about being able to address those shifts in demand. So again, I think you need to ask, well, do you or don't you want GM to be building electric cars? If you don't, then heck, let's just keep Lordstown plant open and these other plants open that build specialized vehicles that might or might not sell, and let's get prepared to have to bail GM out again or let them fail. And instead of 15,000 workers who are on the street, we have 40, 50, 60,000 workers who are on the street. So really, I think it's a choice, and we have to make that choice. Do we allow GM to transition as a business? I do see a lot of people on the left being sort of co-opted by this, where they're going along saying, using this as an attack on capitalists or whatever. And I mean, I get it. Like I said, I don't like the stock buyback aspect of this at all. However, it's important to note that in addition to the blue collar jobs that are being cut, it's a 25% reduction in executive staff. So this is an across the board cut and an across the board shift that GM is making. As long as they can continue to reinvest, like I said, expand battery plants like the one in Holland, Michigan, expand component manufacturing like the one in Hazel Park, I think it's going to be a net benefit. Overall, you have politicians right now running on a Green New Deal where they want to put $1 trillion into domestic infrastructure to build out clean energy. Well, what good is that if you don't have clean vehicles to run on that clean energy? Right now, everybody's looking at Tesla as though they're the saviors. Well, if Fremont was running at 100% capacity, producing 500,000 EVs a year, it would take them 125 years to replace the gas-powered vehicles that are on US roads alone. So we need companies like GM. The fact that they're the farthest along in making this transition to electric vehicles, they need our support more than anyone else. The only way we're going to make that transition is if companies like Tesla and GM are working together in a coordinated way. Really, as electric vehicle advocates, if that's what you say you are, well, then you should actually be supporting this change that GM is making, because overall, that's where the shift is going to come from. Anyway, that's my opinion on it. I delved maybe a little bit too much into politics, but like I said, people are politicizing this issue anyway. I think it's very easy to vilify GM and Mary Barra in this when I think the direction that they're going in is actually a net positive. Anyway, I'd love to hear what you think. Do you think I'm wrong about this? Do you think we should just let GM fail and cut all of the EV subsidies because it's more important that they stumble and fall than it is that we start adopting electric vehicles? I don't know. Maybe that's where people stand. Anyway, if you enjoyed this rant, please like and subscribe. It does help out the channel and helps me do these videos. And thank you for watching.